Hello, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Let's play chess. Okay. 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 Recent things to go over. These 3 games in a row. Well, actually, let's even see this here. More gravity's white here. More gravity is white here. Gravity is black here. More gravity is white here, but that was also one. More gravity is white here, but this was also one. Look, these okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. By my count, I've won the board 10 games in a row. As far as I know, that means that at the position at the end of the game, my side was not just close to winning or about to win, but winning. Like you demonstrate the win or close to it. So you'd be upset that out of those 10 games that I won on board, you can not be upset. You can understand that out of those 10 games that I won by board, I ended up with 4 losses. So I still did well overall with 4 losses. Yeah, 4 losses. So I still did 6-4 overall, but that the buzzer, the timer, what I've been calling clock, decided the game for 4 of those games was really frustrating in a few of them. So let's go to some of those games and we'll review certain ones and not others, I'm sure. This is a game that technically I lost on a timeout. I think I had a very large win up until then. Okay, so I stand corrected. In this game, there's no point in time where white can be thought of as ahead or winning. If it were large enough to count as such, the this band here, I don't know if you can see the number, but this white and black progress bar type thing would show a larger swing in white's favor somewhere in the game. And I think as the best advantage I worked was 0.39, which is almost even. So I take that claim back against 10 game, having lost some games based on time, and very frustrating because I had to win. That's not true of this game, and it's smack dab in the middle of those 10 games or close enough. So, yeah, that's just a different category. And here, this is the game I just won, so that definitely doesn't go with those. More gravity. This game, I think this is the game that really frustrated me very greatly. Yeah, so my opponent has every right to play on because of time, but it's still very frustrating to lose a dead one end game because of time. I mean, white could, if I had a second to sort of compose myself, this game is white's game all over. I could even start marching pawns up the queen side here, get to a position where maybe I have a pawn on a5 and I have a pawn on b5. b6 is a breakthrough because black either has to push or capture and then be captured. And then one way or the other, there's going to be a queen on either the a file or the b file shortly thereafter. This is even after white in some instances, will sacrifice the queen for g3. That's one way to do it. And there's other ways to do it. There's just better ways to highlight that I need to work on some of my endgame technique and some of these more basic things. For instance, if I had the game again, is it white to move here? Yes. Okay. If I had the game again, queen to e1, and black's done. There's no choices, because even after g2, his pawn is so close to promote the pawn is so close to promoting, but queen to g1 stalls the matter no matter what. The pawn can't progress. King can't try to outflank the queen because she covers those squares. So either white can march pawns up and pre-moves along the A file and the B file, or even just take a jaunt over there. Some route, who knows what kind of route, but maybe try to end up on B5 or A6 or even A5. Capture the pawn, all of this in pre-moves, and then play B4, B5, B6, B7, queen, come down and work some kind of really quick checkmate. So I didn't steal my nerves or have the forethought to sort of think of that on the spot. You can see I have only 10 seconds left. So instead I played king to g5, which is in some way computer best, but it doesn't help all that much right away because of pawn to g2. Okay, so this game was super frustrating to lose. Super frustrating. I felt I played my heart out. I was able to come back from being behind. Let's go over this game in more detail then. So e4, e5, king's gambit with f4. I'm going to capture towards the center. Did I really do that? I might have done that, but I am supposed to be playing knight f3 on move 3. I don't know how I must have captured towards the center anyway. I don't usually do that, but I got away with it somehow and played 4 knight f3. You're always supposed to, my advice in the King's Gambit is 3 knight f3. You have to cover this checking square on h4. I would not have played f takes e5 if I were not already out of my mind about something. So knight to f3 covers the check on h4, and then after bishop c4, bishop g4, castles kingside. Losing a knight this way. Let's go to the other view. Bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, king takes f7, queen takes f3 check. Somehow in that milieu we are behind a full knight. Okay, this wasn't my best game to begin with. Oh yeah, no, I meant for that. This is a sacrifice. Bishop takes c4 check is definitely a sacrifice, and I take back. I thought I had a strong attack after this, even with the knight blocking on f6. Okay, that was best move. Great defense. And white is down on the progress bar, but not down and out because of how strong this battery is. Pinning the knight on f6. There's pieces that can hop too if they hop too. So I played some of these moves that not all of them are all that accurate, but most of them at least test an idea. I come to this point after my opponent grabs the rook on a1. It's not all that bad if you think about it from a chess standpoint, and we know with computer hindsight that this is not the move for black, or it is, but it's too late. White does not even have to hurry to recapture, as black is ahead full rook. I could have played rook takes a1 and been behind by the value of 2 pawns. Instead, I chose to delay the recapture, put more and more pressure on f6, more pressure than black can deal with. 3 attackers, no pawns in defense, and defended only by the queen and the king. Rook f8 was just adding sugar kills to mayhem, as my friend Atomic might say. And king to f8 shows that White has a number of ways to recapture. I chose knight takes f6 because it allows the most opportunity for black to make a really horrible mistake. He doesn't. He moves off of the attack. He moves off of the potential discovery. He moves off of the file where my attack would otherwise contain a potential discovered attack, and that's king to g7. It's the right move, great move, and some things start to reset. I'm trying to find a safe place for my knight, so I can then capture on a1. White now has the material lead by a full knight, and you can see this is reflected in the time course here. The computer sees it as happening before it happens sometimes, but white will now be ahead material. Trading queens probably was the best move for both sides, really. It's hard to find. Trading queens was, my opponent doubles these pawns in a very severe way, and I get the queens off the board with a material lead. So that was, I don't know, some people say there's no synergy in chess. On the board, I don't know. On the board, maybe. But both of us leave that part of the game, analyze that part of that game. If the other person playing me did, both of us leave that part. So I played the best move. We even have computers to tell us so. Queen g3, best move. Queen takes g3, best move. Pawn takes g3, or h takes g3, best move. So sometimes there's synergy found within the world of chess. In this section, I did not handle very well. I'm up a full piece. I have my knight on e3. It's probably fine right there to try to bring that knight to c2. Doesn't seem like a good use of time. Wouldn't I rather play pawn to b4 and stop a c4 advance or c5 advance and or an a5 advance? Pawn to b4 followed up with a3 even, and this rook is going to have a heck of a harry of a horrible time to try to attack the base of that pawn, that two-pawn pawn chain. To attack that on a3 is, yeah. So, yeah, so knight to c2 was a waste of time. The knight's already positioned quite well. And I get the trade of rooks out of it. And notice I have 18 seconds on my clock, so that's an issue. And yeah, just one board here when I capture this, when I queen here. Another, I talked about alternative strategies for white. Capturing on h3, fine. King to f4. Or even better, the move I played. Even better, king to f6. What did I do here? Craziness, Jordan. Craziness, more gravity. What did I actually play? Pawn to e5, which it stumbles into best move. You would not want to play that. Play takes g6, but then there's king f4, and my pawn doesn't escape. So, all right. Pawn to e5. I think that was my thinking at the time. I thought I'll just be faster, as his king will have to move out of the way, and that's as far as I thought at that in all the race to get the mouse and the machine and the server to recognize my moves. As often happens in scrambles, at least for me, you get nervous and you start clicking things and the move doesn't enter. So then I try to say, well, what am I going to do here? I said, well, first of all, the clock's ticking, and I don't have time to look over and see how much clock. So I throw a safe check. Then we discuss this position, and that, yeah, queen to f4 was so bad. Queen to e1 was available pretty much queen. Okay, so the queen is made, and it's black's turn to move. For like 5 moves after that, queen to e1. This is black's turn to move. And then queen to e1. Black's turn to move. Queen, queen to e1, right? Just move after move. Black's turn to move. Now no queen to e1, not by the rules of chess. Anyway, I had that queen to e1 save on board a number of times, so I think this going over it like this will help me remember that in the future. I had it 3 times in a row. Whoops. But I mean, even at that, white's still not finished. We can sacrifice the queen for the pawn in some variations. Now it's a draw, and what am I gonna do to stop black from giving checks with his, her, they queen over and over in order to time out the draw. I think it's called the win timeout of the draw. You there's still material left on both sides. So if I time out, it's an actual timeout. All right, so that was an extremely frustrating game to lose. I think this is the game I just pretty much I got checkmated. So I think maybe I overstated. Wait a minute. White, yeah. So I led for this 5 moves here in the middle. I'm not all that concerned about that. It's good enough that I got into that with the winning, or with a strong advantage this position, but white had dropped a lead and then white regained it, and this is a pretty cool checkmate if you look at it. My opponent, so here I am with the lead of about a piece, and then I make this daring mistake, rook to g8, because it drops a full knight right there on f6. But then watch what comes afterwards. My opponent, another mistake, knight, rook g2. Okay, fine. My opponent starts putting on more and more pressure on what I thought was a reasonably safe king. Right, I'm protecting. I can move out. Whoops, I can move out of the way to add another type of protection, but it's still only at 2. Rook e8, but I hadn't counted on the bishop being in control of the e8 square. My opponent now launches into a pretty darn good king hunt. Not lengthy as king hunts go, but this is a middle game. This is a mid-game, mid-board accurate king hunt that my opponent levies against me. So I feel okay about that. This game I won just because my opponent played really well. That's one of the best ways to lose a chess game. I'm going to close that for now. I might come back to it later, just because it was a fun game. I recall it a little bit. This is the one that hurt. Ay. And this was a loss. I think this loss a little bit back and forth, like over through this section. You see the progress bar is going to bob up and down a bit. Yeah, and then we went into extreme time pressure and trying to pick off all my opponent's pawns before the clock runs out. Turns out to be just a slight touch too much of a task. 20 more seconds and 20 more seconds and white wins, but just ever so close without winning. And sometimes like I said, you take off all your opponent's pawns. Sometimes that's the way to go. You do that, it gives you moves to help kind of get a roll on your pre-moves. You clean out all the pawns and pieces, and that leaves at worst white with a draw. You have pieces here, but you've cleaned out all of your opponent's pieces. White can do no worse than a draw. So this game was frustrating as well. Maybe not quite as much. Try to remind myself of strategically and tactically what exactly occurred. This was a fright. Um, Knight to f5 is a great move. Not only for the chess of it, it's an excellent move in terms of chess, but it makes white think, oh, if only I could just about capture black's rook on f8. But I'm in check. Maybe I'll move, and she or they won't notice. And I'm in check. Maybe I'll move again. They still won't notice. Rook moves. So yeah, that's that's chess. That's part of chess. It's a little bit of a cat and mouse. But still, excellent moves. Like one was computer best, and what was the other considered among the very best? So knight f5 definitely among the very best. Knight f5 check definitely among the very best. And then bishop a6 check. Exactly, it is the computer best. King to e1, and then move out of the way. It's not bad. I think it's only considered good instead of excellent or best. I think maybe the rook would be better to have claimed the d file, or at least contest the d file against my rook. We have these rooks, two per side, one supporting the most active rook on your side, and the others being the most active rook on your side. It's called a contested file, I think. Contended? No. I think contested. Definitely, it's called a contested file. There's a lot of tension in a position like that. But I want to see. Let's try in practice. Take a look at. Oh. Well, Torch wants rook to be 8. You would normally move the a rook, except for the fact that the f8 rook is being attacked, and once the king recaptures, the two pieces favor white in that material exchange. So to escape losing material and apply some pressure along the b file, it's rook f to b8 rather than otherwise. Torch or computer on maximum it says there's something for black to own the b file there. Okay, I bet you I get an excellent move for a move like rook to d8. An inaccuracy, because that means there really is something along the b file for black to capture or take advantage of. You know, maybe it's just the babysitting job combined with, who knows. We'll do it. Oh, rook to d2. All right. Well, look, this is now kind of a different game almost. So that game was not so bad. It was frustrating to time out, I have to admit. But these things do happen. As they say in Phantom of the Opera, there was a rendition of Phantom of the Opera recorded, I think, in the late 1980s, maybe early 1990s, where a singer on an opera stage is mad about something that happened. She says, "These things do not happen." The man had said to her, he said, "These things do happen." She says, "These things do not happen. Stop these things from happening." Anyway, Phantom of the Opera's an awesome musical. I recommend the Broadway production that was I think it's somewhere between like 80, probably past the 80s really. Somewhere between like 90 and 97 there was a really fantastic Broadway production of Phantom of the Opera, whose recording is available on major music distributors. You can find it on your favorite music listening site or distributor. Okay. So this game was. Yeah, okay. Just all in all. Oh, hey, let's keep not to break tradition here, Jord. This is the game I won. So let's review the game I won. Here I took some time. Yeah, so Black's fifth move. I eventually decided to treat this a lot like. I eventually decided to treat this like a King's Gambit declined. So within that line, I thought pawn to d6 is a good move to back up the central pawn and decline, make way for a bishop, a black light squared bishop that could become very powerful, and allow the dark squared bishop is going to move to e7 at some point and be active in defending certain pieces and ready to roll. If maybe a little bit of a bad bishop because of the squares that his pawns are on, his king's pawns are on, being the same color as his square. Bishop to g4. h3. Yeah, you have to calculate here. To be consistent, you capture the knight. I think it's also the best move because the queen recaptures and we win a tempo with knight d4. White has to be on his toes to make sure that king and rook do not become forked while white is dealing with the fact that his queen is under attack. So we're in that move, we're forcing accuracy. We're forcing accuracy from our opponent. Game's fine. This is a game. This is a chess game. White's a little bit ahead, and then queen g3 looks like White's gonna start an attack, exploiting the pin against the pawn on g7. Maybe if I push to g6, the bishop slides in here and captures f8, and I'm down the exchange. Except that before all that gets underway, too much, I play knight to e2 check, and I'm going to win the queen for a knight. My opponent resigns, and that's that. I'm going to play this game out against computer. I might get a trade of pieces here. No, not quite. Still a strengthening move. I didn't very much like that. Let's keep our pawn intact. We'll take a replay here. it's not good. All right. Okay. All right. So this game's becomes more complicated than I thought it might. All right. Look, it's fairly. This is a fairly complicated game. Maybe out of inertia or something, I'll continue on my way here. But